Welcome back to another video. It's a Saturday morning. Now, regarding those incursions in Russian territory, so-called Ukrainian, let's face it, it was NATO behind it. And drones can't travel that long distance from Ukraine to Siberia without being detected. Which they discovered, in the end, there were drones which were smuggled into the country by sleeper cells, obviously propped up by military intelligence. In every country in the world, there is foreign agents of other superpowers are operating behind the scenes, or waiting for orders to do things, in case of a war. And now, the reaction of the West seemed cheering on this terrorist attack on Russian sovereignty and territory. But they just went apeshit. And the Russian ambassador to the United Kingdom has said this will lead to a military escalation. And the current Russian nuclear doctrine, which had changed, I think, about 2 years ago, well, they changed it, that's for sure, states if any non-nuclear power attacks the Russian territory or kills the president or does something pretty disastrous, and it has reason to believe they are supported by a nuclear power and its proxies, Russia has the legitimate right to retaliate with nuclear weapons in a measure it foresee to use. Because it looks like the West are pushing the bear, poking the bear. Even if there was some type of retaliations regarding the various civil infrastructures which were attacked by Ukrainians, which, guided by NATO, use of satellites, which are Americans in these cases, is an act of war, it's an act of terrorism. You have declared war. Well, the Russians for the time being are not going to fall in for this trap. Because if they do something stupid, obviously NATO will be legitimised to invoke Article 5. How many are going to chicken out there? Your country's becoming a possible nuclear target if you declare war on Russia. I don't think many leaders are stupid enough, apart from Keir Starmer, Macron, and the new German Chancellor. They are insane, but mainly all Western leaders are on board this so-called Ukraine narrative, supporting financially and military speaking. And it goes to show Germany are training Ukrainian military in military tactics to be used in a possible to come future on the war zone. And there is a boiling point. The Russians will just have to turn around and retaliate. Probably they're waiting for the right moment to do so. But sooner or later, you're going to have to retaliate, because if they continue these attacks, chip by chip, you'll bring down the Russian defences, nuclear, military, infrastructure and stuff, because they knew where to hit. And regarding these nuclear bombers which were being bombed, there's a renewal of the START treaty between Russia and America. It says you have to keep your nuclear bombers in sight to be viewed via the satellite. I think from now on the Russians will say fuck off and they'll hide them, which they should have done in the first place, because the other nuclear treaties, the Russians for suspended or just walked out of, and things are not looking good. There will be cyber attacks, sabotage of any kind throughout the world, whether in Russia or in the West. This is a typical scenario of a new type of warfare, which will build up to eventually World War III, and it will go nuclear. Because we're in the hands of crazy people, of these world leaders. I think the only people who are holding back are the Russians, which seem to have a Russian, seem to have a lot of patience. And now China will be supplying Iran with military equipment. So, looks like China will have to jump in one of these fights or not, or other powers of the BRIC alliance.